Greetings, Cancer and Cancer Rising. This is your Western forecast for December 2024. I always like to start with, where is the new moon? The new moon is in Sagittarius in your 6th house sector beginning December the 1st, making it nice and clean. So one of the main themes for your sign or your rising sign for all of December, put your attention on 6th house matters. The 6th house deals with your day-to-day job routine, your job skills, co-workers, focus on new business, new work skills. It's also the sector of service, and it is during the holidays of December. And Cancer people are very nurturing and caretakers. So the 6th house could also play out to doing a lot of volunteering and helping those in need. The third thing that the 6th house is known for is health, diet, self-improvement, any kind of medical health issues. Now, I don't think health is a dominant theme for most of you. And maybe some of you might have to do some tweaking with your diet, drinking, smoking, cutting back, sugar, etc. But I think it's more about the job. And that's because Mars is going retrograde on December the 6th through February the 23rd in your 2nd house of income. And Mars is ambitious, assertive, and wants to initiate new actions. I talked about Mars in your 2nd house of income last month because Mars entered Leo in your 2nd, November the 3rd, and it's going to retrograde December the 6th. January the 6th, it's still in Leo and retrograding out of the 2nd into Cancer, where you're going to start feeling more bold and taking more initiative. But the Mars is still retrograde, so you're still reevaluating, maybe still feeling like you are got these challenges you have to work out. But February the 23rd, when Mars goes direct, releasing all this pent-up frustrations for the whole world, it's in Cancer in your 1st house. So that's when you are taking action, being assertive, starting new projects, and really feeling like you're moving forwards. So that's also with just Mars through all of December in your 2nd house of income, which is why I think the new moon in the 6th house, it's more focused for December with your job. And you might be feeling frustrated because of the Mars in retrograde of you're not making enough money. You're trying to, how to increase your income. And that might be with everything you're trying to do to increase your income could seem like it's taking more effort, it's more stagnant and slow and frustrating. Mercury is that business savvy planet. Mercury is curious, it's all about learning and selling and ideas. I'm bringing up Mercury now because it's retrograde from November the 25th to December the 15th. So we're going to have Mars in retrograde and Mercury in retrograde at the same time. A lot of misunderstandings and anger and irritability. But before I get into that, the Mercury is retrograding in Sagittarius in your 6th house. In fact, last month, when Mars went into Leo on November the 3rd, Mercury went into Sagittarius on November the 2nd. And it's there till January the 8th. So, Mercury, what are you curious about? What are you thinking? What are you planning? Could be very favorable for learning new job skills or getting out there and looking for other possibilities with work, sideline projects to generate more monies. But with the retrograde, let's break this down. I'm sure most of you have heard all the mantra of the retrogrades. So when Mercury is retrograde, Mercury is communications, it's technology, it's travel, and during the retrograde often faces disruptions, delays, glitches, perhaps having your computer, your phone, just all of a sudden it breaks down, and you don't really, on one hand, you don't want to buy new technology with Mercury in retrograde, but if you have to, just make sure you get the warranty where you can just return it. Mercury in retrograde in your 6th house, you could be, when it goes direct and in November, really focusing on learning new job skills or getting a new job, seeking out new projects. But the retrograde is certainly can encourage one to slow down and breathe and review past details and reflect on past actions. When Mars goes retrograde, Mars is all that ambition and drive and effort. That's also when the Mars goes retrograde, that could be, so there's going to be a lot of anger and tension and irritability out there in the world. But it's best, instead of reacting to attacks, it's best to turn inward and reflect, encouraging, so that Mars in retrograde encourages introspection on how you've been asserting yourself, urging you to reconsider impulsive actions. So it's a lot of rethinking, communications, discussions. With Mars in retrograde, slow it down. If you keep trying to barrel through, you're just going to be hitting your head against a brick wall in the worst case scenario. Or there's just all this having to redo and irritability and tensions. Before I break down the Mars in your 2nd house of income, and we still have to talk about this full moon, and there's a very powerful Jupiter-Saturn square that can really affect global economics. But first, if you enjoy these kinds of videos and would like to see more of them, click like and subscribe. And don't forget to click on the notification bell so you can receive the latest postings. So I talked about Mars in the 2nd of income throughout November. And there's this strong urge and ambition to increase your income. But when it retrogrades, you might be feeling like you're hitting your head against a brick wall, which I've already mentioned, or trying to put a round peg into a square hole, or a square peg into a round hole. So it's like you're spinning your wheels and it's taking so much more effort, and there could be a lot of disagreements or even impulsiveness with money matters. Venus is the planet of relationships. It's also has a planet of finances. Now, we all hear about Venus, love and beauty and creativity, but it's also finances, because it takes money to have the finer things and the luxury things of Venus. And the main reason is Venus rules Libra and Taurus. And Libra is the sign of partnerships and marriage. Taurus is the sign of money. Now, Venus is going to be, and it's a benefic energy. It wants to bring in more of this attraction, more opportunity. Now, the Venus will be in Aquarius, going into your 8th house of your financial obligations, joint ventures, taxes, loans, all of that, December the 6th through January the 2nd. So there's all this, and Mars is frustrated, moving retrograde in the 2nd house of income. It's going too slow. You need more money. You're pushing really hard. But the Venus is going to keep bringing you opportunities. The Venus, the power of attraction, attracting more financial opportunities. The 8th house can be dealing with corporations, joint ventures, business contracts, and the Venus is very favorable, wants to bring in these opportunities. But now the Venus is also opposite the Mars in retrograde. The Mars is in the 2nd house. The opposite of the 2nd house is the 8th house. These are the money matter houses. And Mars is all that ambition and assertiveness. And the Venus, it's bringing you plenty of opportunities for negotiating some important financial contracts and offers. But with the Mars in retrograde, it's best to just slow it down. Don't keep spinning your wheels so much, because slow and steady will win the race with the Mars in retrograde, because opposite is benefic Venus in the 8th house. That it could be bringing you in loans, grants, financial gifts. Now, relationships, because Venus is the planet of relationships. And Venus in Aquarius from December the 6th is opposite Mars in Leo. Opposite deals with the other. Oppositions, the opposite, are also the aspects of relationships. And Venus is love and desire and romance. And there's this dynamic, but could also be anxious, stressful energies with the Mars. Now, when Mars is going to be retrograde, the entire time Venus is in opposition. If Mars wasn't retrograde, this would be a very intimate, romantic, sexy time. With the retrograde, it could still be a sexy time when there might be some sudden infatuations. But with the retrograde, it starts off hot and heavy and you're getting all turned on and excited, and then it slows down. Goes from hot, Mars, cold, retrograde. Now that could also be with attracting some important financial negotiations, going hot, bringing in the opportunities with Venus, and then going cold. But if you push hard, it goes cold. If you just relax, you'll get more benefits from financial negotiations, from maybe meeting somebody new. The new moon on December the 1st, putting all that emphasis on the 6th house, which if there's anything going on, well, let's talk about health right now, but I think it's everything in the chart, the 6th house, the 2nd house, the 8th house that I've been talking about, are all dealing with work and money. So the 6th house, I don't think in general, because I'm not looking at individual charts, just looking at the broad trends. I don't think the broad trends are leaning towards worries and concerns about physical health. But the 6th house can be a time of self-improvement. And it could very well be that you're realizing that you need a better diet. You need to get back to exercising. And maybe part of that is that the new moon is on December the 1st. 2 weeks later is the full moon. The full moon reveals what's working and not working from what was started with the new moon. And the new moon in that 6th house, work and health. The full moon is on the 15th. And you might be feeling it maybe the end of the 14th, definitely the 15th, the 16th, maybe the 17th, and then it goes away. But it really brings a lot of matters that's been hidden to the surface. And that could be dealing with job matters and health matters. And the full moon, however, is squaring Neptune. Remember, the new moon is squaring Saturn. Square is that internal conflict. Saturn is all that delays and contraction and worries. The full moon in Gemini is being squared by foggy, nebulous, distracting Neptune. And Gemini is in the shadow sector before Cancer. So it could be bringing in, and with the Neptune and the 12th house, feeling sluggish and tired. Maybe even some of you might be a bit depressed, or maybe you're realizing you just don't have the energies. And that might be because you're realizing you're eating too much, you're eating too much sugar, drinking too much alcohol as an example. And then you're realizing you're getting up in the morning and you feel like you're having a hangover, even if you don't have a hangover, that you're feeling really sluggish. And then that could be the awakening of the full moon, that you got to get back on track, to get your energy back, to clean up your, get back to exercising, get back to eating better. Now, Jupiter and Saturn are going to form a 90-degree angle or a square to each other, peaking December the 24th. Now, Jupiter is prosperity, Saturn is economic contraction in the worst case scenario, and we have a square. So this doesn't happen very often, but globally, this indicates some economic blocks and worries and frustrations as we close out this year. So it peaks December 24th. And the Saturn is in Cancer, transiting the 9th house. That could be more global. That's the 9th house. And the Jupiter is trying to expand, but the Saturn is keeping it inhibited and blocked. And the 12th, and Jupiter is in the 12th, of a lot of things that are hidden, that are holding the world, or holding the Cancers back. But for the whole world, it just could very well be that the very end of the year, the markets, investments globally take a hit. But it is, this too shall pass. How many times that I see that the markets are crashing and the next day or the next week it's taking off again. So I don't get all upset with the small stuff because it's all moving in the right direction. At the end of the month, the sun leaves Sagittarius in your 6th house, where that whole spotlight was self-improvement, with health matters, with the job. Now the sun is moving into Capricorn, December the 21st, for the first 3 weeks of January. Now, just because the sun is leaving Sagittarius, the last week of December is still really focused on all these sixth house matters. Doesn't go away. But the sun goes into Capricorn, which is opposite Cancer, the last week of December into January. And so it's starting to bring in these new interests. And around January the 1st will be the next new moon, and it'll be in Capricorn. Now you're starting to get a preview of it when the sun goes into Capricorn, December 21st. It's putting a real spotlight on marriage, partnerships, contracts, negotiations, which takes me all the way back to that sixth house, second house, eighth house that I've been talking about. Sixth house are your job skills. Second house, how do I make more money? The eighth house are all these backers and loans and financial investors. So as we get to the end of January, or the end of December, you might be seeing some real positive clues about love and commitment. But there's a whole lot here going on with more about business partnerships or starting to attract a financial contract, a big client, a big contract. And then starting to work on all of that in January. But we might be seeing the clues at the end of December. I want to thank you for watching. If you like information on how to book an astrology reading or to check out my 2-question offer, visit my website at gardino.co, that's .co. Until next month, be safe and well.